Welcome everybody to yet another goddamn horror podcast. I am one of your hosts. I'm Ryan Danley coming to you from I don't know, it's starting to get like light late here in Portland, Oregon. It's kind of like actually I don't even really know how it is outside. I went to work and I came home and I didn't do anything. So I don't really I haven't really been paying attention. Graham, how's Flatbush?
Been really great, actually. The weather's been up and down and stuff. I now am working for, I think, four different families, taking care of kids and stuff, and they're all friends and stuff. So I take care of the kids together now, and the parents have started calling them the Goon Squad, which
I
I'm
like that.
super excited about. Yeah. So shout out to the Goon Squad parents if I think they're listening. God, I hope not. Actually, they don't need to see me.
Wearing your
But
"I'm
shout
a
out to
hugger"
them if they are.
headband and shit. They're just like, well, all right. How
What a
much
weirdo.
how much is he hugging? What's going on?
Hey Jonas, how's the other side of Brooklyn?
It's all right, man. It's weather's been weird. We had an inch and a half of snow, and everybody was like, "Fucking finally!" Like we've had no snow in New York, so everybody was just like, "Well, there it is," and then it melted immediately, and now it's all everything's gone. So yeah, it's all right over here.
This is probably the most boring weather fucking episode we've ever had. We,
We
we
haven't had
decided
shit. There's
well
been
we
nothing.
we decided to bring back the weather and because other people
I thought
wanted
that
us
was a
to.
one-off.
But okay, but now we can bring back the weather and it kind of sucked. Anyways, Jonas, do you want to introduce our? We don't need to keep our
Yeah, I do, man.
amazingly rad guest waiting.
No, dude, our guest is awesome today, man. He is the lead vocalist, and one of the people behind Contracult. He also is one of the brain children behind slash tag cinema. And welcome to the show, Travis Bacon. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, how's it going on your
Brain
end?
children, by the real quick, brain children sounds terrifying.
It does. It sounds like an actual horror villain.
I'll take it.
That's perfect. And you're in Black Anvil too, right?
I'm not in Black Anvil anymore.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I did some research and then I was like, but
So just like real quick, it's funny when I brought up the show and when I brought up to the guys that we were going to have you on the show, as soon as I did, Graham is like the person on the show that like I would say probably listens to the most music because he constantly just has new artists and shit coming on. Like he's the one that
Every
throws.
Thursday night, I'm up at midnight when it turns Friday on Apple Music, just looking for everything and seeing what's new, what I've been waiting for. Yeah, so
So as
that's
soon as I
pretty much.
brought you up, as soon as I brought you up as being a guest on the show, he was like, "Oh fuck!" He was like, I have all of their stuff." So yeah, he was already a big fan of yours, man.
Oh, cool. Thanks
yeah,
very much.
yeah, and you used to. I live in Portland. You used to live in Olympia too, right? Didn't you for a
I
while?
did. I did. Yeah, yeah. I went to college out there, Evergreen, for 4 years.
How'd you miss it at all?
Definitely not.
I don't
No,
blame you on that.
I mean the Northwest is such an incredible place to visit, and there's so many like amazing things about just the landscape and the geography of it and everything, but uh and a lot of opportunity to just, especially a place like Olympia, because it's such a small town with like
Mm-hmm.
so much culture and everything. But I don't know. I realized I need sun and decent weather sometimes a lot more than I thought I did, and I was just super depressed. And
Well, you can understand why the music that comes out of the Northwest is the way it is. You know what I mean? Like it's a
Yeah.
because it's the whole vibe. You know, I
yeah,
mean, I knew and I had heard that you were participating in bands up there. That's how I knew that you lived up there. And it's like it's a whole vibe. You know, just in energy and like the punks and the metal kids and everything like that. Because it is like I mean, I love it because like I thrive in that shit, but I can understand how hard it is. I mean, like, like people don't understand why there's so many serial killers from Washington until you go to Washington. And then you're like, it makes way more sense to be a serial killer than to not be a serial killer when you're in Washington. When you're like driving around those small towns, you're like, yeah, I get it. This is like body dumping places. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, so I
oh,
get
for
it.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
You
I
I
mean,
know,
think
100%.
I
yeah,
always I always tell people I used to live in Seattle and they're always like, "Oh, that had to be fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a fun place to visit." Like it's cool to go for like 2 weeks. It's cool to go for like if you're going there for shows, it's great. Like if you're going to a lot of the venues, like the venues, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of them got fucked up and closed, but a lot of them, like that was a place that was really fun to go for like metal shows, punk shows, shit like that. Like they had the greatest venues, but living there, that was trash. Like it was just not fun.
I think up there in the Northwest too, the music just all, no matter what genre, it just feels a little wetter and darker. Like no matter, like the piano sounds a little like it's been soaked and something, and like everything. I don't know.
So
I kind of love it. But.
So you got into metal and stuff young. I mean, like I've seen pictures of you along the way, and I think everybody who knew what was up was excited to see like pictures of people with metal. So so you were raised in L.A. clearly, obviously, probably, right? And
I was raised in New York.
Oh, were you raised in New York?
Oh, yeah. Shit, even better.
Like but I live in. I was actually born in LA because my folks were on location there at the time, right. And staying at the Chateau Marmont. Talk about a Hollywood brat story.
Sure.
But yeah, I grew up in New York my whole life. I'm an East Coaster, like from the heart, thoroughly.
That makes me that's
awesome.
That's rad. Yeah, I didn't. So you just like how does like the metal, like you just like start listening or like start with horror movies first and then in the metal? How's that go?
I found punk, I think, a little bit before I found metal. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. Because when I was pretty young, I became like super obsessed with 70s culture. And I think with that gravitated towards like Kiss and Thin Lizzy and Black Sabbath. So like sure. I guess those were kind of like early introductions to metal. Of course, there's a million arguments and really intelligent conversations about whether or not that's actually metal. But like, I found punk rock from there, and then I think like my fascination of horror kind of started around that time. And when I was getting into punk, like I started getting into more extreme stuff in punk rock, like, crust and grind and that sort of like you just heavier side of the genre. And then from there, like I broke down and decided to start listening to death metal and got my first Cannibal Corpse CD and that sort of thing.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, but like with horror, I mean, it's funny. Like, I think I always, and like anything else I'm into now, I think I always had this like fascination for it, but I was always really afraid of it. Like, I remember going to the video store when I was a kid and going to the horror section and looking on the back of, a VHS, believe it or not. And seeing like, I don't know, like there was one, I couldn't tell you which nightmare this is, but there's one I like really clearly remember was looking on the back of it and seeing Freddy just like devouring this girl while she's in her bed, and she's like,
oh yeah,
wasted, and looking at this and being like, this is so fucked. I'm never gonna watch a movie like I never. But like some reason, every time I went to the video store, I wanted to go back and find that movie. And, looking at all this stuff like, what? They made a horror film about a puppet master? What the heck?
Yes.
I think it was like, I broke my seal when I turned 12. I remember I went to see Resident Evil and in the theaters. And like, what was funny about that is that like, when I was about 10 years old, my friend brought the game over to my house and it absolutely scared the shit out of me. 8 even, like couldn't sleep in my bed for a couple nights with alone, like just absolutely, ruined me. And I think there's a certain amount of fear to a game that you don't really have with a film.
Sure.
You actually have control over like walking a corner and then there's a zombie.
Oh yeah.
So I went to see Resident Evil in the theater, and it did scare me. Like I wanted to walk out of the theater at some point. But I feel like having done that, I came out of there like, all right, well, what else can I handle?
Sure.
like I think like the next couple things were like I just dived like right into the classics because that's just sort of what I knew and like what my parents told me about and like I went to the Omen and then Exorcist, Halloween, and just kind of like and then it was just absolute fandom obsession from there.
Yeah. I'm
And
trying to think. I don't think I actually saw a horror movie in a theater until I was well into my teens, if not early 20s, because horror was always like very like hidden. It was like you watched the VHSs, your friend got the VHS, you went to their house. It was very underground. So like movie theaters for me were like where you go see the big blockbusters. And now it's different. Now I'm trying to go see just the indies in theaters to help them out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the first movie that I saw in theaters that was a horror film. The first horror movie. I remember the first actual horror film that I saw in theaters, funny enough, was probably Jason X.
Nice.
I think that was the first one because I remember seeing the commercial for that one and I was like, Jason's in space and he looks like a fucking Terminator. There's no way that I'm not going to see that in theaters. And then I walked out of it with my friend. We were like, that was fucking stupid, but we loved it. like that was amazing.
I
And then
really
from
remember
that point on,
so distinctively. Like I remember going to the theater a few times and seeing that trailer specifically.
yeah.
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 Yeah, we were just like from that point forward, we were like, all right, now all we're doing is going to see we're just going to see those. I remember the first horror movie I snuck into though, actually. The first horror movie I snuck into, I got in there halfway through and I was definitely too young to go to that theater because I was only in there for probably 30 minutes before I was like, "Oh fuck, I got to go." And it was Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight,
Nice.
which is now one of my favorite horror films of all time. But when I was like young when I walked into that one, I can't remember what part I walked into. I think it was when the kid turns into that really nasty ass demon. Like it was one of the gnarliest demons in the whole movie. I'm pretty sure it was that part where I was like, all right, I'm gonna shit my pants if I stay in this movie. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave. like
I
and
just looked it up. It was I remember I was 11 because it was Aliens. I saw Aliens in the theater. That
oh
was my
shit.
first tour, I guess.
So what so when did you like start playing when did you start playing music? Did they like kind of like coincide? Because I generally find with most particularly metal people and punk people that there is a lot of like continue like okay, I get into horror and it sort of drives the other one. Did you you started because you play guitar now and sing, so did you always was that always like part of the thing? Did you start in that young or
I started on that really young. I started playing guitar when I was 9 years old.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That definitely came a long time before that the two worlds kind of collided. And honestly, like I don't think I really played in like a full on metal band until it was like probably in my 20s. Before that it was kind of all like it was like all hardcore and punk and stuff like that. Like I think I started like I mean, once again, I think this is kind of crossover, but I started a grime band called Budges, like when I was in my 20s. And then it wasn't too long after that I like did my first fill-in tour for Black Anvil. And I feel like Black Anvil was really the first like metal band that I
sure
did. So it took some time before those things that kind of
Well,
happened.
what were some of the punk and hardcore bands that got you into that early on?
That got me into horror movies, got me into music.
To music, to
Uh,
punk and that side.
yeah, I mean, I think the first one I heard that kind of like resonated with me and I wanted to hear more was Anti-Flag. And
Nice.
yeah, from there, like, I dived into the classics, Black Flag and Circle Jerks, really big Subhumans fan.
Fuck yeah.
And when I finally kind of found like Crust, it was like all that for a while. Like Tragedy was my favorite band. From Ashes Rise, This Hero's Gone. Nausea, partially because they're from New York and everything. And
sure.
then, yeah, Bad Brains, crossing
Hell yeah.
into hardcore and everything. Gnostic Front, that kind of thing.
Sure. I was talking to a coworker once a couple of years ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to sing for a hardcore band." And I'm like, "Well, which one?" He's like, "Oh, from Ashes Rise." And I'm like, "You're no." He's like, "Yeah." And then like it would be like so weird because it would be like you would be like hearing him in a meeting because he was like assistant manager at the National Food Store that I worked at. Like I was a produce manager and he was the assistant store manager, and he would be talking about like the store stuff um and I would like afterwards I would talk about it. I'm like, how do you think the guys in his hero's gone and Severed Head of State and all that would feel right now watching you talk about the margins for this store? I'm just gonna give you some shit. He's a great guy. I still see him. But
no, dude, I was literally joking about this a couple days ago, and like I posted it on Facebook, and it happened again today when I was at work. I was like, do you think that Tupac would have changed anything if he knew his music was being played in a Whole Foods in 2023? Like, because I'm sitting here like I'm listening to it at work, and I'm like, I just heard Big Papa, Only God Can Judge Me, and then area codes all in a row, and I've heard Zero Hootie and the Blowfish today. Like, it's like, what is happening now?
But he would be right behind you buying oat milk too.
Of course he would.
Exactly. Exactly.
He'd be like, "Oh shit, they're playing my song."
Yeah.
So
He'd be stoked.
He would. He'd be like, "What?" He'd be getting royalties. Is what he'd be getting. So I have a question about Contracult. So like when you look at one of the videos, like there's some pretty clear inspiration in a lot of dark shit with the videos. So the videos, specifically, I want to talk about the videos on it. Who's responsible for the visuals on that? Is that you, or is it somebody else in the band? Or is it a little bit of both? A little bit of both.
I've come up with pretty much all the video ideas. I'm a really visual person. Like sometimes I just get these fantasies when I write a song about what the video would look like. I do write kind of from that visual perspective, and like I work really closely with whatever like video director we're working with or anything to kind of execute my vision. I mean, I think this stuff is collaborative, and I'm not coming in thinking I'm a director or anything, but I do like to, I do have an idea pretty much every time I approach one.
I think even in collaborations, there's a leader, and so
there's a heart.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
there's a person that does the visualization usually, and that's why I was asking, because dude, if it's you that's behind most of the visualization of those videos, then kudos to you, because the videos that you guys have are insanely good. Like, especially with the type of music that's a question I'll ask you actually, because anybody that's listening that hasn't heard the band before, how would you categorize the band? Because I know that there's different inspirations of music in it. So what would you say is like the main classification?
I guess industrial metal would be just an easy one.
Sure.
That everybody can kind of understand.
Yeah. Okay.
I can tell you this: when I watch your videos and even listen to your music, it's not specific. It reminds me specifically, like the whole thing. And this is a little weird because it's such a simplistic thing, but I get an energy and a vibe from 9 Inch Nails' "March of the Pigs." That video, like, is so fucking cool to me. Like it's not even the music from the album. It's just what they recorded there. And it's just kind of raw, but like it's perfect. And so like just watching your videos, and especially like that one of the first videos kind of has that feel, but like the music and the sound is sort of like that energy, which I really dug. It's what I dig about you. So
thank you.
Yeah, that's the reason I even brought it up, is because it's got like kind of a techno horror vibe to it, with a lot of the visuals and a lot of the videos. So at least to me, that translates into what you've got going on now, which correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you guys, it looks like you're starting a new horror venture, I guess you would call it, with /tag cinema. So I want to talk about that. Like, what's going on with /tag cinema? What do you guys got going on with that? Because it looks like it's in the starting stages of it, or at least something's coming soon.
All right. Well, I guess the best way to answer that question would kind of just be to explain like the kind of origins of it and everything, because
Yeah,
it actually
absolutely.
ties back into what you were saying. So uh I'm a film composer, in addition to other things I do, and I just haven't really had the opportunity until recently to do horror, which is pretty much the reason I got into film composition to begin with. Because come on, who doesn't
Right.
want to horror? Um, and so I was having a conversation with it started because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, named, I'm just gonna name drop him, I don't care, named Tyler Bates. um
Nice.
he's a pretty well-known composer, and I talked
Yeah.
about how do I get into this, how do I get into this kind of work, and he said, I at this point, like, I've had meetings with Blumhouse, I've tried to, tried like every avenue to do it, and he said, well, the thing is, like, you don't have stuff to picture that is horror necessarily. And, what I would suggest doing is if you could just get any kind of picture to make some stuff to, that would be helpful. So my friend Kyle, who I've been doing these videos with, or he's one of the directors of a couple of the videos. He did, let's see, he did our video for Plunge, which was a song which actually I'll mention later, became a slash tag character.
Nice.
And then he did a video for a song called Infirmary as well, which we put out pretty recently. It's kind of a cool black and white photo where I'm my there's like an assisted suicide situation with my girlfriend, and then I take her corpse on a date. Um,
There's a warning and everything.
much, like I don't, so
Yeah.
some
No, I'm into it. I love warnings. It means it's probably going to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah. So I spoke to him about it, and I just said, like, you let me, because he's a director and he's an editor and kind of feels the same way, that he wants to transfer into this world and have more showcase of his work. Because we're so past this age as artists and as creators, this like bullshit idea of I waited outside his office for this amount of time, I swept his floor, I did this, I did, and then he finally paid attention. Fuck all that. Like,
Right.
buy a camera. If you can get people together to do something, if you can pull out your computer and write something, if you can make a song, just do it. Like,
Right.
there's no other reason to do it, to not do that. So I started talking to Kyle and was like, what if we could just make some like kill scenes or something, and I could make music over it? And he liked the idea, but then kind of said, like, I really like this character that we developed with this video Plunge, which we were calling the Scorned One, which essentially the character is like based off of one of my favorite movies, Fatal Attraction.
Fuck
And
yeah.
and basically the idea is, but it's kind of got a twist on it. I'm the Glenn Close character, and essentially, like, I wake up after a one night stand, and this like closeted Christian guy like is just dipped, and I wake up, I'm all psycho, I'm trying to, and I go like, I'm like trying to get this guy's attention while he like goes home, and he's at his like he walks in his house with an unhappy marriage with his wife who hates him, and I'm like obsessively texting. I put on like the same dress that his wife's wearing in this picture. I'm trying to send him all these photos to get his attention, and then I go over to his house to like essentially kill him, like and we have some version of that like final shower scene. And he said, like, he's like, I just love that character, like, what if we could do something with that character? So I started thinking about that idea. Simultaneously, I had a friend named Dylan Smith who's also involved with the project. He's an incredible fine artist who's done stuff for dozens of bands. You've definitely seen his art before, and various t-shirts and record covers and stuff. And he also had an interest in getting into some film stuff, and we just had lunch one time, and I just asked, like, well, what are you trying to do here? And he said, honestly, like, I just want to do some stuff that I'm kind of like, if I could just get together with some people and make like a few 1 minute horror movies, that would be awesome. And I'm like, well, there we go.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I brought the two of them together, and we kind of had this idea to make these 1 minute horror films for like a scrolling culture. So, the kind of the initial intention was like, let's make these 1 minute horror films that are quick, to the point, not too, obviously they can't be too violent, which is boring, but on TikTok and Instagram. And then we just kind of like developed it from there. So we did that all of last year. We made like probably about we made quite a few. We made like almost 8 films or so, and we would try to. There might even be more. I don't have an exact number, but like we were consistent with it. We post, as soon as we got running, like we posted one every week. We had a bunch of them. We had reoccurring characters. We have the Scorned one. There's another character called Plastered the Clown, who's a alcoholic dude that turns into a murderous clown when he drinks. There's like a kind of alienistic character we have called the traveling salesman, and we just like started making these little bits. And this year our biggest goal is we're in the midst of writing and sorting out like a real short, like a 12-minute short that we can actually like get done with the crew, done really well, and start like shopping to festivals and trying to see where we can go with this further, and like showcasing what we do to like a more broader film audience, because
Sure.
that
Totally.
stuff still matters, like especially within this genre and everything.
Totally. We interviewed tons of a friend of the show, Kristen Bacchini, had a really great short last year out of Italy, and I mean, like a short film is like actually still one of my favorites to watch. Just as Jonas and I are both stand-up comics, and like, so to me, like being able to, and like and we all write to a certain extent, like I write for the hard times and stuff like that, and like, so like I really enjoy um the ability to spit out like a story that's good and has a beginning, middle, and an end, and like an Aegon and all of the things in 10 minutes. Like there's just something that's like, it's actually so much easier. Not so much easier, but you know what I mean. There's different problems with a longer film, but to make a comprehensive short that is good is some of like the truest art there is, because you're like, okay, here it is, and and it all kind of matters. You know what I mean? Like every word matters, and I kind of dig on shit like that. So
And also, like, I just real quick, I mean, I think what you're doing when you said it was for like the scrolling culture, that's a thing that is going to have lasting power. Like, I think probably more than any other technological culture in recent memory, because there's going to be social medias, there's going to be apps, there's going to be shit that just continues to build upon itself. And that whole concept of the scrolling, the whole concept of the something repeating itself, and like that whole thing, and that's something that's just, it's not going to go away. Like, it's not going to be going away anytime soon. And I think that what you guys are doing by producing something that is a minute long, or like even a little bit longer, or whatever, but especially doing those things that are a minute long, like those can catch steam like a lot easier than I think people would realize, especially if you have consistent characters, if you have return characters and return parts to a story and stuff like that. Like, that's the type of shit that's going to make people like watch it and be like, oh shit, what's coming next? Like, it builds such a cool anticipation that I think a lot of feature length films and even shorter films just don't have the ability to do. So I think you guys are absolutely onto something that's very, very cool for especially this era.
Thank you.
Yeah,
um
absolutely, man.
and I gotta get like, I think we haven't talked about this a lot, but you are from a famous family, and but I got to give you a lot of props for, I mean, you're going through things, all the DIY and the proper channels of an artist, and that's fucking rad. You know what I mean? And it's just like, to to see that, because there's so much good and gravity that comes out of those things, you know what I mean, that like, of just like those like proper processes, you know what I mean, and like going like, okay, well, we've been making 1 minute movies, now I got to make a short, and you know what I mean, and like, and that's I'm excited to see the product, because it's going to be,
Thank you.
it's going to be rad. Yeah, make sure you hit us up when that happens.
Yeah, of course. No, you'll be the first ones. No, I mean, I'll say to that point, like, you still have to, no matter what. Like, and within this industry and everything, it's like, I think there's, not to say this was your point, but like, I think there's kind of a misconception that like, oh, okay, well, you can just step off of whatever and you got a big crew for you working for you and everything.
Sure.
It's like,
Right.
You gotta still, nepotism only goes so far. You still gotta pay your fucking dues.
Right.
Totally. And yeah,
and it's apparent when somebody does too. That's, like I sort of have a grudge against nepotism personally, but I'm more happy to be proven wrong by somebody like you or somebody like Brandon Cronenberg, or people that are actually doing shit. They had a leg in, or a foot in the door or whatever, but like, I didn't even know that you had a famous family at all. I just listened to your band and I liked your band. So that was cool. So I didn't even have that what do you call it? Preconceived notion or whatever going into that, which is good. And I think that could have been, if I had gone in knowing that, you're Kevin Bacon's son, I might been like, I'm not really going to give this a chance.
I'm sure. Well, we don't need to get too into that, because I'm sure you get tired of talking about being.
Nah,
but I appreciate, like, you're still coming, that, you know what I mean, and I think, like, coming up through like punk rock, and I mean, I see Brian from His Heroes Gone eating, because I live in Portland, like eating burritos and shit all the time, and that guy is still just like doing his thing, and it's just like that ethos, when it lives in things, I think it just makes things better, you know what I mean, and I'm stoked to see you out there and doing it, and bands and music, and taking that energy and putting it forth in such a great way. So
before we jump into your favorite franchise, I have only one question that relates to your family at all, and it's about one of your dad's movies, because I think it's probably one of the most underrated films he's done. And I'm curious if A, if you've seen it, and also B, what your feelings are on it. It's the movie Death Sentence.
Oh, yeah. I have seen it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely. I think I saw it. I think I've seen it twice at least. I went to the premiere, and I saw it again, which I got to be honest, is pretty rare for me. Like, people bring up films all the time, and I haven't.
Sure.
But
sure.
Yeah.
Like, if my dad was in a movie, I totally wouldn't watch it. I would totally like be like, nah, like it's hard enough like talking on the phone. Never mind having to sit through any more bull.
Watching you on a set.
I'm watching you on a set, like fucking fuck all that.
No, like the only reason I bring up Death Sentence is because whenever I talk about movies that are like that movie, I consider it a horror film, like a psychological horror, I guess, like a horror action or like a horror thriller. But when I talk to people about a movie that's like a revenge movie, that's one of the ones that comes up a lot for me. And the amount of people that haven't seen it, I'm like, first off, get out from under the fucking rock and go see that movie. Like, find it. And every time I tell somebody to watch it and they come back to me, they're like, dude, that movie fucked me up. And I'm like, yeah, it's one of those. Like, it's one of those ones that sticks in your brain for quite a while. But I think it's criminally underrated. So I'm glad that you think that's fucking awesome, because it's one of my favorites.
I agree. It fucks.
Yeah,
for real.
So your favorite franchise is Halloween.
Yep.
That goes along with you being a composer too, man. He's the god. He is the horror composer god, John Carpenter, man.
Yep.
Definitely is.
So, what's your favorite Halloween out of the whole franchise? I have to put you on the spot.
Number one, Night He Came.
One.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I've seen them all, so happy to talk about it. And
Yeah, so we have strong opinions. I think Jonas told you about the Rob Zombie Halloweens and Mr. Zombie in general, because he did call he called the cops on a skate park. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna
sucks.
What now?
It really that sucks to hear that. I did hear that.
Yeah. They're trying to get it closed because they could hear the skate park from their house. Like I'll let a lot of shit slide in this world, but
cops on skateboarders is not cool.
It's not cool. You can't be
least cool.
It's like the least cool thing you can do. Like I've always worked at
not metal, Rob. That is not metal.
I've always worked at grocery stores, and they'd be like, Ryan, can you go out and throw out the skateboarders? I'm like, I'm absolutely not going to do that. You are going to like fucking have to fire me before I throw a skate. Before I'm that guy. I am not going to be the hey guys, can we?
I'm gonna go give them bottles of water. Like, here you go. Like, hydrate, guys. Fucking get more energy. Skate it up.
Do shit, for the love of God.
Like, I don't know. If I was skateboarding and Rob Zombie just came out of his house and told me to keep skateboarding down, I might.
Just be like, you know what?
I'd be like, oh, you're fucking Rob Zombie, sure, right on.
I went to when I went to California, and I was hanging out with my friend. He lives in Venice. And we were walking down the beach, and we stopped, and I was like, why are we stopped? He goes, we're in front of Johnny Rotten's house. He goes, if we stay here long enough, he's gonna get really pissed off and come out and tell us to leave. I was like, that's what Johnny Rotten does. He goes, apparently that's what he does after he retired. He just tells people to fuck off from his property. It's like, all right.
That's amazing.
How did you like the last three? What did you think? How did you like? There's even a dispute on our program about about Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends. How did you feel about the final
three?
Yeah.
All right. So Halloween. What was the first one called?
Just Halloween.
Yeah. I like that one. I thought it took an interesting, my favorite thing about it was taking kind of like an interesting approach to Jamie, to Laurie Strode, because that makes sense that, Laurie Strode now would be this like incredibly traumatized old woman who constantly thinks this monster is going to pop out of the closet and come after her no matter what. And, maybe a bit of a doomsday prepper and everything in that way. So I thought that was really cool to like tie into like just the emotional energy of her. And I thought Jamie like put on an incredible performance. Halloween Kills, I didn't like it. I really didn't. I thought it was like, I just thought like by like halfway through the movie, I was like, I swear to God, if I hear this motherfucker say evil dies tonight,
I get it.
Nothing but when the moment he gets his head bashed in, which I don't remember how he died, but it was pretty cool. And just like so many other things about it that just there wasn't enough killing. Like there wasn't enough anything. It was just this town like kind of running together as a mob and everything. And how the fuck, please explain to me how, I don't give a shit how angry your mob is. How the fuck are you gonna like mistake some like special needs person who looks like fucking Danny DeVito playing the Penguin? Break. Yeah, so I don't know. And it was just like it was super like glorifying the cops and shit like that. I was just, I don't, kind of a cool ending. I'll give it that. I kind of like the ending. I kind of like the face off and the whole thing and the big like circle, big circle fight and all of that. Love that. Yeah, that was how I felt. And then the last one, yeah, it just didn't do it for me. Appreciated the end for sure. I just thought I did think the end was solid, but I'm wondering if I partially thought the end was solid because I'm just like, I'm done with this fucking shit. Like,
sure, like
just say you're happy and move on.
Like, good.
So
He's finally fucking dead. Cool. Like
I'll tell you, my favorites are, besides three is actually my favorite, but the Michael Myers one, Kills, is my favorite because I think it did exactly what I always wanted Michael Myers to do, and that was kill a lot of people. He slaughtered that town. I don't know really what you're talking about. There weren't a lot of kills, but that was like a brutal, just flat out Michael Myers is a killing machine. And that's kind of all I've ever wanted. I felt like all the movies leading up to that were a tease of him just becoming that full on monster. And that was just for those three. I don't know, but I kind of liked it. But I would say my favorites go 3, Kills, and then the original.
All right.
You might actually be the only person in the world that has Halloween Kills as their overall second favorite.
Yeah, probably.
Which, honestly, fucking good for you, man.
I don't know how this happens.
I'm gonna go 5. I'm gonna go 5, where he's chasing her in the car and he can't run her down. that's
you love that one.
It's so amazing because they're just like, because you could just see them like in the movie. They're like, okay, we need to keep this going, some tension in the background. So he's gonna try to like run a child over with a car, but he's gonna drive behind her at like 3 miles an hour because she's gonna be able to like,
he drives like he walks.
Right. He drives like a dude who has not been out of the hospital long enough to learn how to properly drive. He's just like,
we've seen him drive in every movie,
and this is this is also like when he's getting supernatural.
Right. We've seen him drive it. I mean, he drives in the first movie. Like, that's how he gets out. Like, and then but he can't run over a kid. Like, I mean, like, how many people are intending to run over kids who run over kids? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me
who aren't
right, who aren't killers.
No, he should have gotten lessons from like the fucking Toxic Avenger.
The Toxic Avenger people with the jocks and Toxic Avenger.
Just trauma in general.
Dude, what would a trauma Halloween movie look like? That would be fucking amazing. So Travis, here's my theory on the last 3, and you can tell me what you think about this. So the first one I think actually was pretty solid, like you were saying. I think it was pretty solid. The fact that he kills a kid for his first kill in that one was pretty fucking ballsy, because that just doesn't happen in horror a lot. But the first one I thought was good. So the second and the third one, this is what I think should have happened. I think that they should have switched the films, and they should have put the endings of the films on the opposite one. So this is what I mean. I think they should have taken the third Halloween Ends. They should have taken that whole storyline, taken Corey Cunningham the fuck out of it, because he doesn't need to be in there, and then have everything that's happening to him happen to Laurie Strode. So have her be the one that struggles. Have her be the one that is worried about the town. Have her be the one that people are mocking. Have her be the one that struggles with, am I going to become the monster or am I going to kill the monster? Have her be the one that's like straight up doing the PTSD crazy shit like that. But then have the ending of that one be the ending of Halloween Kills, which is just the whole town coming back trying to kill Michael Myers and him just fucking murking everybody. And then in the third one, have it be the Halloween Kills movie. Have it be the whole thing. But instead of it having the end of Halloween Kills, have it be the face-off between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. Because I think as long as you take Corey Cunningham out of the movie and you have all that shit happen to Laurie, it's an infinitely better movie. And it can still be the same thing. But if the third movie is Michael Myers just killing the shit out of the entire town and killing everybody leading up to the face-off between Laurie and Michael, that also feels like a good send-off. Like, that feels like a much better movie. So that's my theory behind those. I think they could have saved them with very minimal changes but the way that they were both bad movies. Like they were Halloween Kills was fine for the bloodshed, but aside from that, it was completely storyless. Like
Yeah,
it
you
was
wanted
just
the old flippy flop.
I did. I wanted the switcheroo. I wanted the flip flop, the switcheroo. What do you think about that, Travis?
I wouldn't have thought about it that way, and I have to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the whole area on Corey, I was just like, I'm done. I'm lost. What's happening here? And it didn't go anywhere. You
No.
know, of course, I was expecting. All right, cool. He puts on the mask, and now we got a new one. Like, you know, now we can keep milking this bullshit. But
Right.
you know what? More than anything, I'm just looking forward to anything that steps a little bit away from this legacy shit for a bit because
Sure.
there's just more.
There's so many legacy movies,
right, and I
in
think
general.
that, and I couldn't agree with you more. I'm fine with remakes and stuff like that. Like the stories are fine, and so you know what I mean. And I like yeah, but also like. But you're right. Like the legacy stuff is like, yeah, well, not. I mean, Rob Zombie doesn't even count. He's like he's like
His shit was by itself.
He's like if the clearance rack at Hot Topic became a human. He I guess I just feel like like the legacy thing was fun for a while, but now it's like I look at like the Evil Dead Rise trailer and I'm like, perfect. Like this is what you need. It's a story like in the universe, and like it just looks dope. They're like, let's just make a whole different dope fucking movie from the same shit. And like to me, like that's the best thing they can be doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
I
Evil Dead
like the
Rise.
last Scream a lot too, and I'm really looking forward to them going to New York.
I'm looking forward to that too, but I couldn't stand the last Scream.
Really?
Oh, Scream 5? Yeah, that's interesting.
I liked 4. For some reason, 5, I was just like, oh boy. Yeah, but I don't know. That was one I really liked The Last Texas.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Me too, a lot.
Yeah, me too. Jonas is just going to be quiet.
No, I'm not going to be quiet because I will tell you the parts that I loved about it. I loved a lot. But the parts that I didn't love about it were so distracting to me that's what fucked the movie up for me. But the parts that I loved, I absolutely loved a lot. That bus scene alone was fucking sold the movie. Like,
it was so good.
Yeah.
They should put that bus scene in every movie. You know what I mean? Like, just like no matter what movie it is, like
animated movies too. Fucking don't care.
Right, you're just watching something, and then there's
just
like
replace the upside down drone view going over the woods with the bus scene. You got it in every movie.
Yeah, we don't need the big drone scene. Just have Leatherface massacring an entire bus full of influencers,
and you'll be like, "Oh, this is a horror movie." Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got it.
I wanted to say this about the Evil Dead Rise trailer because Travis, you've seen the trailer, right?
I haven't watched it.
You haven't watched it? Okay, so this is not really a spoiler, Graham, so don't worry about it. But
that's fine.
That trailer was awesome, but that trailer could have sold me on the movie if it was only sound, except for the one part where the mom looks at the kids and says, "Mommy's not here, she's with the maggots now." I was like, I'm fucking sold. Like that right there, that line, I'm like, I don't give a shit about the rest of this movie. That right there sold me on the whole fucking thing. I am in 100%.
There hasn't been an Evil Dead thing I didn't like,
so you think you can handle our
Sinister Six
questions? Think you can go through the gauntlet?
Let's do it.
All
right. First question: Freddy or Jason?
Freddy. I don't give a shit about Jason. I'll be honest with you.
Oh,
I love it.
All the franchises. I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Why is he wearing a fucking hockey mask?
Your face is way scarier, dude.
It's a good point.
Very cool looking. 8 is the one when he goes to New York. That's the best one. What's the difference between thriller and horror?
Okay. This is a good question. I think thriller always has to like usually refers to some kind of like modern situational experience. Like, you know, I think once again, like my favorite thriller is Fatal Attraction, and it's like it refers to something specific that happens like in life, so to say. And then I think another reason why that makes that not a horror movie, which I think there's, you know, I'll also back this up by saying I think there's a lot of discrepancies of like where one starts and one ends.
Sure.
For sure.
You know, it's like arguing about like what's grindcore, what's death metal, whatever.
Right.
But I feel like that's one thing. Like you don't really have a thriller about something supernatural there's not a lot of, and I think the gore aspect is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, no, that's great.
By the way, I have tons of opinions on what grindcore, what metal is. By the way, if you ever want to have that conversation on a different one, I could have that conversation for.
You can.
For a long
time. What horror movie influenced your taste the most?
Ooh, that's a good one. Fuck. Rosemary's Baby.
Excellent choice.
That's a good one.
Nice.
It's a very good one.
That's one of my favorites. I sort of have a little bit of I have a little bit of a tattoo of it too. I grew up like right down the street from that building.
Oh shit.
Oh wow.
The El Dorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have these like little gargoyles on the side, and yeah. Anyway,
Rosemary's Baby is such a good movie.
Yeah.
All right. If you could erase one movie from existence, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be horror.
You mean besides Halloween Kills? Fuck. Let me think about that for a second. I heard this question on another few things, and like there's a lot of things that I think about of like, you know, kind of weird like butterfly effect thing, and I might not like a thing that much, but at least it, you know, turned into something else. All right. Halloween Resurrection.
All right.
That's fair.
That's perfect.
Did anyone really need that? Busta Rhymes going trick or treat, motherfucker.
Okay, I have to mention one thing. I didn't mention this when we were doing our Halloween conversation, but I'm going to mention it now. I think every one of the Halloween movies has some sort of a redeeming quality, whether it's just one scene or not. And I can tell you the one scene in Halloween Resurrection where it's a redeeming one, and it's only because of how absurd it is and how fucking funny it is. It's when Michael Myers sneaks up behind Busta Rhymes, who is also dressed like Michael Myers, and then turns around and starts mocking him in Busta Rhymes' voice coming out of that mask, telling him skedaddle, get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, I was laughing so hard at that part, and then he's just like, man, can't even pay for good work around here, and then turns around and just leaves. And then the fact that Michael just turns his head and does that little side crook where he's just like, I should kill you right now, and then he just fucks off. That made me laugh so hard that I was like, all right, this movie's terrible, but that was really funny.
All right, are ghosts real?
Definitely.
All right.
I like the definitive answer on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever really had a definitive ghost experience, but I believe it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've had enough experiences to where I'm definitive on it now.
I want to be definitive, but nothing so far. And last one.
I'll send my fiance to you, Graham. She'll fuck with you. I think it'll be great.
Please.
Yeah.
That'll be fucking weird. Midsummer or Hereditary?
Ooh. Okay. I'm sorry if you just wanted like quick answers.
No. Expand.
I think mids. God damn. All right. Midsummer is definitely like just like the most probably one of the first like horror films I've watched where I'm like, okay, yep, didn't think of that. Like that's original. You got all the terror and stuff in the middle of the day, and it's just as fuck
Yeah.
stuff. But Hereditary was probably one of the first movies that fucked me up the first time I saw it in a really long time. Like, I mean, like, and this is after like fucking Serbian film and shit.
Right, sure.
Like this is, and I remember going to the theater. I went to the theater alone to see that. Went to Nighthawk Cinemas, which some of you might
Yes.
um absolutely one of my favorites. And remember sitting there watching it, and then just afterwards, just being like I couldn't move out of my chair for a second. I got out of my chair. I drove home because I was going somewhere for like a recording session the next day, and I rented a car, and like I drove home just like no emotion or anything. Like got to my house, went upstairs, and literally just like turned off the light and went to bed. Like as if I just knocked my sister's head off.
Holy shit.
I swear to fuck, like I felt like I did something wrong. Like I was like, it really, really fucked with me. So I'm gonna have to say Hereditary.
Yeah,
feel like feel like that's a valid reason for picking Hereditary for sure.
for sure.
Like Midsummer, those two movies they're so different, but they're also so alike in the sense that their central antagonistic feeling is grief.
Yes.
And yeah, man, turning grief into the central big bad. Ugh.
Yeah. And Hereditary is heavily influenced by another movie I brought up before, which is Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Actually, when you said Rosemary's Baby, I knew that you were going to pick Hereditary. Like that's like I just like I could feel it in the you could feel it in the air. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to vote against Toni Collette too, because she is such an amazing actress.
Oh, yes. So like yes, no, I completely agree. Whether she's horrified or she's funny or like, oh God, that fucking scene at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. Thanks, guys.
That's what I'm here for. You know what
That's
I mean?
what we fucking do here, man.
That's our deal.
I think that's important. Like I really do, and that's the other thing is like a horror film should be horrifying. And there's definitely times when like I watch a film, like there's been a very few amount of movies like recently that I've watched in my life where afterwards I thought, did I really need to see that? And then I come around and say, yes, I do, because that was a good fucking horror movie.
Oh yeah,
for sure. No, there's been some, we just came off an amazing year. So there was a lot of great horror last year, and yeah.
I just out of curiosity before we get into recommendations, I just have to ask your opinion. How'd you like Terrifier 2?
I fucking loved Terrifier.
Yeah, sweet.
Loved.
Awesome.
I kind of knew you would, but I just wanted to hear you say it.
Terrifier 2 as well is that like it's really strange. It was like a disease. Like I remember like I didn't love Terrifier the first time I saw it. I just thought it was like there's too much extra shit here.
Yeah.
Like what's like the warehouse, the the woman, the doll baby, and the whole thing. I was just like, I think I just need the clown. I rewatched it before Terrifier 2 came out, and I came back around. I was like, okay, that clown is just, I mean, he's unbelievable. And like we talk about this legacy thing and like the fact that to actually come around and like make the next slasher icon is just hats off. I mean, really,
for sure,
for real.
Like that is so hard to do, and you nailed it. Okay, so when I first saw Terrifier 2, I walked out of the theater I had fun the whole way through. I was like, I went to see that at this place here. I was stoned as fuck. I was just like, the minute like the minute the beginning sequence ended and like the her putting together the costume came on screen, I just had the biggest grin on my face. Like, oh boy, what a start to a movie! That was perfect, right? But I walked out of there. I had like all these critiques about it. My friend and I had this like discussion in the parking lot about it. It was another person I do slash tag with because he basically told me in my face, he's like, I think that's the greatest horror movie since The Shining. And I'm like, what? You know, I had a bunch of critiques about it, right? And then for some reason, I could not stop thinking about and talking about that movie with everybody I knew. Like it got like weird. Like actually got to the point where my girlfriend's like, "You have to stop talking about fucking Terrifier. It's really enough already." Like, and I like started like listening to the score on its own and stuff and all that. And I know Paul actually too, and like, and yeah, I just am fucking obsessed with it. And I've seen it twice so far, but I keep like almost watching it a third time. I bought it on iTunes. Like it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking
Two
great.
and a half hours too, and it's just fucking just perfect all the way through. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel
breezes
like
right by.
yeah.
Okay,
It's funny.
I am gonna ask you one annoying question, okay? And I'm gonna apologize for it in advance. But Smile was like my favorite last year. Did you like Smile?
I love Smile. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably there's maybe no denying when it comes to like I don't know, like thespian like real action and
Sure.
film. Smile's probably a better movie than Terrifier. But
Sure.
um but yeah, no, I loved it. I was like it really it nailed it all the way through. There was maybe a little bit of confusion about like what kind of movie it was trying to be the whole way
Sure.
through. But, I'll say it with all biasness, my fucking sister stole that. She was unbelievable.
She
She,
fucking killed it. I thought it was just amazing. And I mean, just like, and like, I don't know. There was some deep gravity to that movie and a lot about generational or and like the trauma chain and shit like that, and like just so much like so much heavy shit in that movie. So
Wait, your sister was in that?
yeah, she's the star of it.
Yeah,
I
she was
didn't
the main
know
star.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't. I knew him from Contracult. I didn't know. No, that's rad. Well, if we're just real quick, did you like X and Pearl?
I did. I did. I liked Pearl. Also, shout out to Tyler Bates for those two scores as well,
Bro,
because
go,
He's
go.
so fucking good.
So
Yeah.
good.
he really
Awesome.
did great. And Chelsea Wolfe was really cool. Great, interesting addition. I liked Pearl more than X.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of funny. When I first saw X, I dug it and everything, and I went to see it with my girlfriend, and then we watched it. We watched it together, and she kind of brought up a bunch of like she did not enjoy it, and she brought up a bunch of points about it, and kind of like you might have some points there, but I still dig it. But
Sure.
I mean, there's just shit in that movie that you just have never seen in other films. That scene of her with the axe running out of the barn. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
she's really
So,
talented.
Those are my two favorite movies of last year.
X
I
and
think
Pearl.
after, yeah.
The reason that I brought up the Terrifier 2 thing and like in general what spiraled this whole conversation, the reason that I brought it up is because like we've had people from Terrifier 2 on the show, and I can tell you that there's probably no group of people, at least in my opinion, that truly love what they do more than the people that we've had involved with that movie. Like you can tell that they truly are passionate about making good, fun horror, and just not like the fact that made the amount of money that it did and like did what it did in theaters was a total Cinderella story thing. But you can tell like David Howard Thornton is one of the nicest people in the world. And he plays Art the Clown so fucking well that it's just like, Jesus, do you have bodies under your fucking floorboards? Like for real? You might for real. Like
Yeah. He's scary.
he is, but he's so fucking nice.
All right.
At the premiere, he was just dressed in the purple Joker suit.
That's awesome.
He fucking rules.
All right, recommendation time, Graham.
Yeah, I got you. I've been watching The Consultant on Amazon. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It's Christopher Waltz, and
Oh fuck,
it is so messed up and good. It's about a tech company. The owner dies, and he comes in and takes over, and it's just real fucking shady. And I still don't know what's going on, and it's real unsettling and great. Also, I didn't think I'd even watch this, but I ended up watching Cop Shop and really loving it, despite it being about cops and despite it not being a horror film. But it had an actor in it, Alexis Louder, who was fucking incredible. And it turns out she was also in Violent Night. And
oh yeah, good movie.
This woman is just dope. So watch Cop Shop just for her, Alexis Louder. She's the lead. And then music, Drug Church just released a new song called Myopic, which is fucking stellar. So there you go.
Nice.
Jonas?
So I've decided also I'm going to start it here on this episode that during recommendations, one of the things that I am going to recommend is physical media every week. So the physical media release that I want to recommend for the video portion here is this here. It's a Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2.
Nice.
On 4K from fucking Scream Factory. Scream Factory is really hit and miss on their physical media stuff, but dude, both of those transfers are fucking awesome. And I cannot tell you how bad I want the Driller Killer prop from the second one. I want a fucking prop replica of that drill guitar so badly. But yeah, both of those are awesome. Music, Kim Dracula is one of my favorite fucking artists, and Kim Dracula's newest track with Jonathan Davis called Seven Thorns is fucking wild. It's so good. If you're not familiar with Kim Dracula, they're an artist from Australia, I believe, and they mix in all sorts of stuff. They mix in horns, they mix in metal, they mix in trap rap, they mix in industrial, just all sorts of crazy shit, and it all works somehow all together really well. So big fan of the Kim Dracula stuff. That new track is amazing. And then on streaming, coming out by the time everybody hears this, it'll be out on Shudder. I saw a pre thing from it. A Spoonful of Sugar coming out on Shudder. It is a mind fuck, and in the best way. The movie is basically if you took LSD and turned it into a horror film, that's what Spoonful of Sugar is, but put that in with children.
All right.
So it's like children. It's like children took LSD and made it into a horror film. So it's very, very cool.
Right. Is that it for you?
That is, yeah.
Okay. Can I just real quick? I just want to jump in.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, sure, I saw Cocaine Bear. I don't know if who else has seen Cocaine Bear.
Oh, dude, I can't fucking wait.
So, like, if I don't understand how it wasn't I don't care, but it should have been the number one movie of all time. It's perfect in every fucking way. It should have blown out every fucking record of all time. I can't even begin to tell you how fucking perfect Cocaine Bear is. And this is kind of a spoiler, but it happens real early. Children do cocaine. Like children are eating cocaine. It's fucking amazing. So I feel like I'm a different person after seeing it. Like there was before and now. Like I think I have to change my name.
That's what I wanted from Cocaine Bear. I wanted a life transcending experience from Cocaine Bear. So
it's what it is.
I'm so into this now. I can't wait to see it this weekend.
All right. I watched a movie called Red Snow, which is it a good movie? Is it the kind of movie we love on this podcast? 1000%. Good independent horror, vampires, just kind of funny and like real simple, good stuff. Go check it out.
I do know what movie that is. It rules.
Yeah,
like,
rules. Yeah. It's funny. I've been watching Half Bad. The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself on Amazon, or not Amazon, but Netflix, one of those giant monster company. Like I'll suggest it to you, and you'll tell me I'm stupid for suggesting it to you if you watch it. But I don't care. I like it, and it's good. I think it's like off of like a Harry Potter-ish fantasies type of book that I've never heard of, but it's about warring factions of witches in modern day England.
What's it called?
It's called The Bastard Son and the Devil, or Half Bad. The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself. It's basically like this guy, like there's two, like there's fairborn witches and blood witches, and they have like their enemies. There's
yeah, that looked pretty cool actually. Yeah, I should have watched that instead of the School of Good and Evil.
Yeah, should have. Totally.
We can't call you an idiot for any of your suggestions because Graham just had an earth-shattering soul orgasm about cocaine bear. So you can suggest whatever the fuck you want. Like we're on board.
Musically, I've been listening to a lot of trap and drill lately. I've listened to a lot of Pop Smoke, but I've also gone back and re-listened to all the original Death Before Dishonor hardcore records. And if you haven't listened to Death, I think Death for me kind of fell into this, like there was so much of that kind of hardcore at the time that like I just didn't like, I couldn't like hear it like it is, but like going back and re-listening to it all, because I'm still a huge All Out War fan, but like if you go back and re-listen to all the Death Before Dishonor, as far as Boston hardcore goes, which I have a lot of opinions on Boston hardcore in general, but as far as Boston hardcore goes, they are absolutely fantastic. So that is what I got. Travis, will you take us out on recommendations?
Sure. All right, let's see. On music, I've been really fucking with the artist this year called King Yosef. He's like, he kind of started, I guess, like in the rap world a little bit, producing for some other folks and stuff. And then like a few years ago, he actually did like a collab record with Youth Code that was pretty cool, but he put out an EP. And I think he's got a LP coming out, but he went on an EP last year that was on, that was just like definitely on all my top lists. And it's like kind of a really cool blend of like hardcore and metal industrial type stuff. And it's just done right. It's not too much of anything. It's like everything's just kind of right on there. Cool.
Is this the Ever-Growing Wound? One of the records?
Yes.
What's up, cat?
Right, my cat.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, do you have any recommendations?
That cat rules, by the way.
Yeah, my cat too.
This is our boy. We just
nice.
Oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
That's so cute.
We're a big fan of cats on another goddamn horror podcast over here. So,
a movie I've been shoving down people's throats a lot lately came out like 2 years ago. It's on Shudder. It's called Speak No Evil.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
Yeah. I love that movie with all my heart.
It's very well done.
It was like everything about it. It's probably one of the best horror films I've seen in a while. Like it really, another one of those films where I thought I did something wrong at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie ruined Graham's life.
Yeah,
it almost broke up the podcast.
It literally almost broke up our podcast because I was so.
I hated it, but just on a personal like how it made me feel. I was angry at the movie, and my going off on it made other people upset. It was fine. I was at fault, but it is an incredibly well made movie. Yeah. And every time somebody brings it up, I'm like, God damn it. Can't we forget about it?
No,
But
dude,
yeah, it should be recommended. It should be.
Graham, what your soul did for Cocaine Bear is the opposite of what Speak No Evil.
Yeah, no, Cocaine Bear. I needed Cocaine Bear because of that movie.
Yeah.
Set all things right in the universe.
Yeah.
So yeah, besides that, my friend CJ, who's the girlfriend of one of my co-creators of Slash Tag, Kyle, she wrote a book recently. It's not out, called Mayfly. It'll be coming out like I think like by, I want to say May. It's coming out. Mayfly. And it's about the best way I can describe it is that it's like a female Patrick Bateman, and it's a character that's lives in Los Angeles, works at some kind of Disneyland type thing as like the ice princess, and parties hard and just has a really like disconcerting murderous rage. And I just think what she did with this book is unbelievable. Like I honestly, like, I'm dyslexic and I have a hard time really getting through a whole novel unless I'm listening to it, and I couldn't put this book down. It was weird. Like I would get up at like 6 a.m. before I needed to start work to read it a little bit. And like,
awesome.
It's just so, it's so raw, it's so funny, it's just a complete page turner. And I can't say much more, but it's definitely going to turn into something visual, and I'm really, really excited for her, and like really excited to see where this thing goes, because it's awesome.
Awesome.
Okay.
Have her reach out, and we'll give her a shout out.
I will.
Yeah, for
sure. We'd
Yeah.
love to help promote the shit out of that for her.
Yeah.
I read books sometimes, so I like
Me
to promote,
too.
Yeah.
So
I occasionally do as well. I think you guys do it more, but when I get a book that I really like, though, I'm kind of like that, where I'll wake up in the morning to read it. Like, it's that type of shit. Speaking of promoting, Travis, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram at SVRTCNTRACLT. That's my handle. And then you can find Contracult on Spotify and on Instagram and everything. On Spotify, it's listed as Contracult Collective due to some name issues that didn't exist. And then you can find everything Slash Tag related if you go to Slash Tag Cinema on either TikTok or Instagram. Yeah, and got a few films on there. They're only a minute long, so maybe you can stomach that. And yeah,
love it.
The Another Goddamn
That's
Horror
awesome.
Podcast TikTok is going to be following and sharing the shit out of that Slash Tag Cinema stuff. So
awesome. Well, Travis, thanks so much for spending your time with us and
Yeah, for real.
your cat and talking about all the fucking cool shit you got going on. I appreciate you and what you're doing out there. And please, when you got things coming out, please think to hit us up, and we'll happily promote you. And
we're gonna have to have you on for a round 2 so we can do like a for real deep dive on Halloween, because I feel like there's a lot.
I think everybody's tired of Halloween.
No, dude, I feel like we can talk about a lot of stuff on it just for fun, just fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm into it. I could talk about that.
We can have like a for real Halloween nerd episode where we just fucking nerd out like crazy on it. It'll be for a limited audience, and that fucking
I'll bring the 3 love.
This is a blast, guys. I am a listener. I was a listener before even.
Awesome.
Thank.
And I love what you do, and kind of keeping the scene alive. And this is part of the reason why horror is unlike any genre that exists in the world, because of the fandom and just the intense, fun, just connections you make with people and everything.
For sure.
I want to tell you something, Travis, just because this is something that only you and me will understand out of all of us. Our mutual friend Jackie, that introduced us. Her and I were going to do a project where it was going to be her watching a horror film because she doesn't watch a lot of horror films. And it was going to be like her being kind of like a horror virgin. And then we were going to have a conversation about it afterwards. Then I had her watch just the trailer for The Innkeepers, and she screamed so loud that her fucking roommates thought that they had to call 911. So it was like, you know what? Maybe we can't do that project. Perhaps we're not able to do that.
Well, awesome, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We've had a fantastic. Country wise, the battle still rages. UK still coming in a strong number 2, with England beating out, but Wales still in 4%. God, I love that. Love that Wales is there. Canada,
Welsh horror fucking rules. So yeah, I'm into
that. Canada in number 3, New Zealand, Australia number 4, Germany, Sweden, Turks and Caicos Islands, Mexico, Netherlands, France, Puerto Rico. God, I fucking love Puerto Rico. India, Taiwan, India. Can you imagine that people are like listening to me fucking talk about shit in India?
Fuck yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even listen to me talk about shit. But Taiwan, Brazil, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Spain, Ireland, and Poland, and then coming in last are Italy and Russia. So we are. So thank you all, everybody listening to us everywhere. We really do appreciate you. If you're struggling at all, we had a lot going on behind the scenes too. So please reach out to us. Reach out to us on our social media, and we'll all talk about this because we all need to do this shit together. And take care of yourself. Get yourself to the doctor before shit gets out of control. That's my advice from this last couple of weeks. And I love you all to death. And thank you. We'll talk up soon. Go start some fires and break some glass. Thank you.